Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Screen Sirens and Silver Dreams. I'm Marilyn.
And I'm Elizabeth. And today, Marilyn, we are not just walking down memory lane. We are practically strutting down it in haute couture and furs, aren't we?
Absolutely, Elizabeth. We're talking about the titans, the legends, the women who truly built the foundation of cinematic stardom, the actresses of Hollywood's golden age. From the roaring 30s right through to the swinging 60s, these women weren't just stars, they were entire constellations.
Oh, I'm already getting goosebumps just thinking about it. You know, when we talk about the golden age, it's not just about the films, is it? It's about the entire mystique. The studio system that both created and controlled them, and the sheer, undeniable magnetism these women possessed. They were larger than life, weren't they? They weren't just acting. They were embodying a kind of dream.
Exactly, Elizabeth. And what I find so fascinating is how diverse their appeal was. You had the fiery dames, the sophisticated ice queens, the girl, next, door types, the comedic geniuses, and the dramatic powerhouses. Think about Bette Davis versus, say, Jean Harlow. Both absolute icons, but worlds apart in their screen personas. Bette, with that intense gaze, and that almost aggressive independence, challenging every notion of what a leading lady should be. She literally fought the studio system, didn't she? Trying to get better roles, more creative control, pushing boundaries at every turn. That's a kind of resilience we rarely see today, even with all the talk of empowerment.
Oh, Bette Davis, a force of nature. And she really did fight. She understood her worth, didn't she? She wasn't just a pretty face. She was an actress with a capital A. And what I love about her is that she wasn't afraid to be unlikable on screen, which was revolutionary for a woman back then. She played these complex, often morally ambiguous characters with such conviction. And then you mention Jean Harlow, and it's like a different galaxy altogether. The platinum blonde, the original sex symbol. Really, her presence was so electric, so playful. Yet there was a vulnerability underneath it all. She exuded confidence, but also a kind of tragic beauty. It's wild to think how short her career was, tragically cut short. But her impact still reverberates. She practically invented a look and a sensibility that people still reference. It wasn't just about the hair. It was an attitude.
Absolutely. And her influence on fashion alone is immense. That sleek, glamorous, almost untouchable look. But you know, Elizabeth, beyond the individual stars, what really defined this era was the studio system itself, for better or worse. These actresses were often under incredibly restrictive contracts. They were molded, groomed, and branded. Think about Joan Crawford. She was a master of reinvention, meticulously crafting her image from flapper to glamorous working woman, always adapting, always surviving. She understood the game better than almost anyone, didn't she? She knew exactly what it took to stay on top in a brutally competitive environment. And when you look at her filmography, she gave some truly unforgettable performances, often playing women who were strong, ambitious, and sometimes frankly terrifying. That kind of intensity, that kind of drive, was captivating for audiences.
Joan Crawford, the ultimate survivor. You're right. She was relentless. And it's interesting because, while the studio system was so controlling, it also provided a structure where these women could truly become stars, with dedicated publicity machines behind them. But at what cost? You think of someone like Judy Garland, for instance, the immense talent, the unparalleled voice, but also the incredible pressure from a very young age. It's heartbreaking to think about the burdens placed upon her shoulders, the constant scrutiny, the forced regimen that ultimately took such a toll. She was literally built by MGM. And then, in a way, she was consumed by it. Her performances, especially later in her career, always had this incredible emotional raw nerve that, I think, came from her own experiences. You could feel every ounce of pain and joy in her songs and her acting.
Oh, Judy Garland, that's a perfect example, Elizabeth. Her talent was almost too big for her to contain, and the studio system certainly didn't help. They wanted to maintain that wholesome Dorothy image for far too long, even as she was maturing into this phenomenal dramatic actress and singer. It's a tragic story, but her legacy is just untouchable. And speaking of untouchable, let's talk about Katharine Hepburn. Now Theresa, a woman who defied the studio system in a different way. She didn't fight it head, unlike Bette Davis, but she carved out her own path with an almost aristocratic independence. She was perceived as box office poison at one point. And what did she do? She went and bought out her contract, acquired the rights to the Philadelphia story, and then brought it to Broadway, and then brought it back to Hollywood on her own terms. That's power. She wasn't chasing popularity. She was chasing great roles and integrity, and she always dressed in pants when it wasn't fashionable for women to do so. She practically invented the power suit for women, didn't she?
Katharine Hepburn. What an icon. Her wit, her intelligence, her sheer force of personality. She didn't care for the traditional feminine roles or the societal expectations placed on women in Hollywood. She was unapologetically herself, and that resonated with audiences even when they didn't quite understand her. And her partnership with Spencer Tracy, just magical on screen. You could feel the genuine chemistry, the sparks flying, the deep respect and affection. It wasn't just acting. It was a relationship unfolding before your eyes, a masterclass in subtlety and understanding. And it's fascinating because she often played characters who were intelligent, independent, and articulate, just like herself. She really paved the way for women to be seen as more than just romantic interests or damsels in distress. She was a leading woman, not just a leading lady.
Definitely, Elizabeth. And her impact on what women could be on screen and off is immeasurable. And then you have the epitome of grace and beauty, someone like Grace Kelly, from Hollywood star to actual royalty. Her trajectory is something out of a fairy tale, but her acting career, while relatively short, was incredibly impactful. She worked with Hitchcock in some of his most iconic thrillers, Rear Window, Dial M for Murder, To Catch a Thief. She brought such an elegant, almost cool composure to those roles, but with an underlying vulnerability that made her captivating. You could believe she was both the sophisticated lady and the woman who could be in genuine peril. It's a very difficult balance to strike, and she did it effortlessly.
Grace Kelly was just ethereal, wasn't she? That classic, timeless beauty, but with a real talent beneath the surface. She embodied that refined, almost unattainable glamour that defined a certain segment of the golden age. And it wasn't just her looks. It was her poise, her voice, her entire demeanor. She projected an image of perfect elegance, yet in a Hitchcock film, she could convey terror with just a look. It's that subtle acting that really sets her apart. And then, of course, she left it all behind for Monaco. It almost feels like the ultimate Hollywood ending, doesn't it? The screen princess becoming a real-life princess. It's a story that continues to fascinate people to this day, a testament to how deeply ingrained her image is in our collective consciousness.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. A real-life fairy tale. But let's pivot a little and talk about someone who was perhaps less ethereal and more earthly, more fiery, more passionate, Elizabeth Taylor. Oh, to be Elizabeth Taylor. From child star to an enduring legend, her life was as dramatic as any film she ever made. Those violet eyes, that incredible beauty, but also that raw, undeniable talent. She could command the screen like few others, whether she was playing Cleopatra, or Maggie in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, or Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. She just poured herself into those roles with an intensity that was frankly shocking. She didn't hold back. She was all in, emotionally, physically. And her off-screen life, of course, was equally legendary, full of romance, scandal and glamour, captivating the public in a way that truly defined the celebrity culture we know today. She was one of the first to live her life so openly, almost defiantly, under the public gaze.
Elizabeth Taylor, my namesake, and what a woman she was, Marilyn. You are right, she didn't just act in dramatic roles. She fey them. She had this incredible ability to be both exquisitely beautiful and deeply vulnerable, often within the same scene. Her performance in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is just staggering, isn't it? It's raw, it's unflinching, and it's transformative. She completely shed the glamour to embody that broken, bitter character. And her relationship with Richard Burton, a love story for the ages. played out in front of the entire world. They were like a real-life epic drama unfolding constantly. She was unapologetically passionate, lived life on her own terms, and somehow managed to maintain her star power through every twist and turn. She defined what it meant to be a superstar, transcending cinema into a global phenomenon.
She truly did, Elizabeth, and it's hard to talk about this era without mentioning the ultimate symbol of glamour, vulnerability, and tragic beauty, Marilyn Monroe. My namesake, actually, though I'm nowhere near her league. Her appeal was just magnetic. She wasn't just a bombshell. She had incredible comedic timing and a profound, almost heartbreaking ability to convey innocence and fragility, even in her most overtly sexy roles. Think of some like It Hot Faye hilarious, and her vulnerability shines through. Or Bus Stop Faye, a surprisingly poignant, dramatic performance. She broke the mold for what a sex symbol could be by adding layers of sadness and sensitivity to her characters. And her off-screen story, the constant struggle for respect as an actress, the battles with the studios, the intense public scrutiny, Faye, it's a testament to her enduring power that despite all the difficulties, she remains one of the most recognizable and beloved figures in pop culture. People are still trying to understand her, aren't they?
Marilyn Monroe, of course. Her image is so pervasive, so iconic. It's hard to separate the myths from the woman. But you're right. There was so much more to her than just the dumb blonde persona. She was intelligent. She was ambitious. She wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. And she really did try to develop her craft. Her work with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio wasn't just a publicity stunt. It was her genuine attempt to deepen her skills. And her appeal. It wasn't just about physical beauty. It was about that blend of innocence and sensuality, that almost childlike quality combined with an undeniable allure. There was something inherently wistful about her, a fragility that drew people in, making them feel protective of her, even while she radiated such powerful glamour. Her legacy is one of the most complex and enduring in Hollywood history, a constant source of fascination and debate, a true cultural touchstone.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. She's a perennial topic for a reason. And then we have to talk about some international stars who truly captivated Hollywood during this period, like Ingrid Bergman. What a phenomenal talent! From Casablanca to Gaslight, she brought this incredible sincerity and earnestness to her roles. She felt so genuine, so real, even in the most dramatic and heightened situations. And of course, her life, particularly her affair with Roberto Rossellini, caused a huge scandal at the time, leading to her being effectively blacklisted from Hollywood for a period. But she returned, triumphant, proving that true talent eventually transcends scandal. Her resilience and her commitment to her art were just awe-inspiring. She was never just a pretty face. She was always an actress of incredible depth and integrity.
Ingrid Bergman. Oh, Ilsa, Hera's looking at you, kid. She had that rare blend of warmth and intensity. You just believed her, didn't you? Whether she was a desperate wife in Gaslight or the conflicted lover in Casablanca, there was an authenticity that shone through every performance. And the Rossellini scandal. It's such a stark reminder of the moral policing that Hollywood and the public engaged in during that era, especially towards women. It's almost unimaginable today, the kind of public condemnation she faced. But like you said, her talent was simply too great to be suppressed, and her return, winning an Oscar for Anastasia, was a huge statement about the power of artistry over puritanical judgment. She never lost her grace or her conviction.
And speaking of grace, and transitioning a bit into the later part of our Golden Age window, we have to mention Audrey Hepburn, a different kind of star altogether. Not the bombshell, not the femme fatale, but this incredibly elegant, almost elfin presence with those enormous, expressive eyes. She redefined glamour with her sophisticated yet understated style. Think of Breakfast at Tiffany's, Roman Holiday, My Fair Lady. She brought such charm, wit, and vulnerability to her characters. She wasn't just beautiful, she had this incredible inner light and an unmatched sense of style that still influences fashion designers today. She showed that you didn't have to be overtly sexualized to be incredibly alluring and impactful on screen. Her legacy extends far beyond film with her humanitarian work, which, to me, truly cemented her as an icon.
Audrey Hepburn. Absolutely. She was the epitome of chic, wasn't she? Her unique beauty, that almost fragile elegance, completely revolutionized the Hollywood ideal. She wasn't the curvy pin. Up she was slender, graceful, with those incredible eyes that could convey so much emotion. And her acting, it was always infused with this gentle humor and genuine warmth. She was so captivating whether she was a runaway princess or a socialite with a hidden past. What I admire most about Audrey, though, is how she consciously stepped away from the limelight to dedicate herself to UNICEF. That's a decision few stars would make, especially at the height of their fame, and it truly speaks volumes about her character. Her impact goes beyond cinema. She became a global ambassador for kindness and humanitarianism, leaving a legacy that is just as profound off screen as it was on it. She really used her platform for good.
You know, Elizabeth, as we talk about all these incredible women, it strikes me how much they had to navigate. Not just the demands of their craft, but the relentless gaze of the public and the often stifling expectations of society. They were trailblazers in so many ways, even if they didn't always set out to be. They pushed boundaries, whether it was through their performances, their personal lives, or their sheer resilience. They didn't have the same support systems or the same conversations around mental health or gender equality that we do today. They were figuring it out as they went, often alone, under immense pressure, and yet they produced some of the most enduring, memorable, and influential cinematic performances of all time. It's a testament to their inner strength and talent, isn't it?
It truly is, Marilyn. They were women living in a man's world, navigating an industry that was designed to control them. And often their biggest battles weren't just for a good role, but for basic respect and autonomy. Think of Vivien Leigh, another powerhouse. Her performances in Gone with the Wind and A Streetcar Named Desire are just legendary, completely embodying complex, flawed, yet undeniably compelling women. But she also battled immense personal demons, including mental illness, often exacerbated by the pressures of fame and the demanding roles she took on. Her fragility was as much a part of her appeal as her fiery spirit. And the way she channeled those inner turmoils into her characters, that's what makes her performances so utterly unforgettable and heartbreaking. She left pieces of herself in those roles.
Vivien Leigh, oh my goodness, Elizabeth. Scarlett O'Hara and Blanche Dubois, two of the most iconic female characters in literary and cinematic history, brought to life by one woman with such devastating power and beauty. She was breathtaking to watch, and you're right. The toll it took on her sensitivity, her immense talent, it's a very poignant aspect of her story. She epitomizes that blend of incredible artistry and personal struggle that was so common among these actresses. They gave so much of themselves to their art, often at great personal cost. It makes you wonder what kind of films they would have made today, with more creative freedom and a more understanding environment. The films we got are masterpieces, but you can feel the effort, the sacrifice behind them.
Absolutely, Marilyn. And what about those whose careers spanned the entire spectrum? Like Joan Crawford, we mentioned her adaptability. Or even someone like Myrna Loy, who was just the epitome of sophistication and wit in the Thin Man series. She had this incredible charm and intelligence that made her character, Nora Charles, one of the most beloved on-screen wives. She was smart, funny, and she held her own against William Powell. She defined partnership in a way that was aspirational for many women of that era, and she did it with such understated elegance. She wasn't just beautiful. She was incredibly sharp and discerning in her choices, and she projected that on screen. These women, whether they were overtly dramatic or subtly comedic, they all possessed a spark, a certain journey-size coy that made them utterly unforgettable.
Yes, Myrna Loy, a brilliant example of an actress who, while not as overtly dramatic in her personal life, created an incredibly strong, enduring screen persona. She was the ideal, intelligent, witty companion, and she radiated warmth. That's a different kind of power, isn't it? the ability to bring joy and aspirational domesticity, but with a real bite and intelligence. It shows the range of what star power meant back then. It wasn't just about high drama, it was about connection, relatability, and charm too. And I think that's what draws us back to these actresses again and again, Elizabeth. It's not just the nostalgia for a bygone era, it's the sheer force of their personalities, their talent, and the indelible marks they left on film and culture. They were the original influencers, really shaping perceptions of beauty, strength, and womanhood.
They absolutely were, Marilyn. And their films still hold up decades later. You can put on a Bette Davis film today, or a Katharine Hepburn comedy, or a Marilyn Monroe musical, and you're instantly transported. The performances still resonate. They had that timeless quality, that star quality that can't be manufactured. They were unique. And I think, honestly, what truly cements their legacy is the way they navigated a world that wasn't always kind or fair, and still managed to shine so brightly. They broke molds, they set standards, and they inspired millions. They gave us glamour, escapism, and in many cases, a reflection of the evolving woman, whether she was fighting for independence or embracing her sensuality. They were so much more than just pretty faces on a screen.
They truly were, Elizabeth. My personal favorite, if I had to pick just one, and it's almost impossible, would have to be Audrey Hepburn. Her elegance, her grace, her commitment to making the world a better place even after her Hollywood career, that humanitarian spirit just solidified her iconic status for me. She showed that you could be utterly glamorous and profoundly kind, and that's a powerful message. Her films always leave me feeling hopeful and charmed. What about you, Elizabeth? If you had to pick a single Golden Age actress who truly stands out for you.
Oh, that's such a tough question, Marilyn. It's like choosing a favorite child. But if I truly had to narrow it down, I'd have to say Bette Davis. Therese, just something about her raw intensity, her refusal to be pigeonholed, and her sheer undeniable talent that just captivates me every time. She wasn't afraid to be ugly on screen if the role demanded it. She wasn't afraid to play villainous or deeply flawed characters. She was an actress first, and a star second, and her fight for creative control in an era where women had so little of it is incredibly inspiring. She truly left an indelible mark on cinematic history, and her performances, especially in films like All About Eve and Jezebel, are just masterclasses in acting. She really owned her power, and that's something I deeply admire. She wasn't asking for permission. She was demanding her place.
Excellent choice, Elizabeth. Bette Davis was a force to be reckoned with. Indeed. And that's really the common thread connecting all these incredible women. Isn't it? They weren't just products of the studio system. They were forces within it, shaping it, defying it, and ultimately transcending it. Their stories, their struggles, their triumphs, and their dazzling performances continue to echo through time, reminding us of an era when cinema was pure magic, and its queens reigned supreme. We could talk about them all day, couldn't we?
We absolutely could, Marilyn. And I think that's the beauty of it, Faye. Their legacies are so rich, so multifaceted, that Therese always something new to discover, a different angle to appreciate. They truly are the golden goddesses of Hollywood, and their stars shine just as brightly today as they did all those decades ago. It's been an absolute joy discussing these incredible women with you today, Marilyn, and diving deep into their everlasting impact.
It truly has, Elizabeth. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through Hollywood's golden age. We hope you've enjoyed revisiting these legendary actresses as much as we have. Their stories are a reminder of the enduring power of charisma, talent, and sheer will. Join us next time for more Screen Sirens and Silver Dreams.
Until then, keep watching those classics and letting the silver screen enchant you. Goodbye, everyone.